I remember when I was first viewing the trailer of Fun Size, I thought to myself that this movie looked like it had potential. And yeah, considering it looked a lot raunchier than other Nickelodeon movies that came out, it wasn't that much of a surprise when it ended up getting a PG-13 rating. The first Nickelodeon movie released in theaters in America to get a PG-13 rating, with the first, of course, being Angus, Thongs and Perfect Snogging, but that wasn't released in theaters in America. Anyway, I remember when I first saw Fun Size, I thought to myself, oh, this movie was disappointing. I really didn't like it. But then I thought it was pretty bad, actually. But now watching it again, I still can't say it's good. I can't go on a limb and say it's bad either. There are parts of it that are bad. Here's the plot. Ren DeSantis, played by Victoria Justice, is a teen girl who's struggling to overcome the loss of her father about a year earlier. Her mother, Joy, played by Chelsea Handler, is going out with a 26-year-old guy, and her younger brother, Albert, played by Jackson Nicoll, has become mute and is constantly doing all kinds of weird stuff, much to Ren's annoyance. Halloween is approaching, and Aaron Riley, played by Thomas McDowell, the most popular guy at school, has invited Ren to his party on Halloween night, which her best friend April, played by Jane Levy, is more than insisting that they go to it. However, being tasked with taking Albert trick-or-treating that night, Ren reluctantly does so, but then during a stop at a haunted house, Albert takes off. Desperate to find him, Ren seeks the help of her neighbor Roosevelt, played by Thomas Mann, who has always had a crush on her, and his friend Peng, played by Osric Chau. The four end up traveling around in his parents' car, desperate to find him and encountering all sorts of hijinks, while Everett himself is encountering hijinks with a corner store clerk, played by Thomas Middleditch, seeking revenge against his ex-girlfriend, played by Abby Elliott, and then her current boyfriend, or now ex-boyfriend, it's not said out loud, played by an uncredited Johnny Knoxville. Can things come together by the end of this night? Well, okay, so you know how I said Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging was able to perfectly pull itself together in how it managed to show how it managed to be able to make a movie about teens that was realistic and at the same time still kind of make that fantasy teen film you'd usually see. And well, aside from that movie earning its PG-13 rating, this movie not only is unable to be able to properly take a fresh take on the teen drama or comedy, but at the same time, it also is doing the bare minimum to get a PG-13 rating. I mean, not so much bare minimum. I mean, there's all kinds of swearing. They go as far as to avoid. They don't say the F word at any chance, but at the same time, there's still the matter of how the film is. This film seems to have two tones to it. One, it's trying to be adult and edgy, and two, it's trying to be a film absolutely aimed for children and not really anybody else. And I think they weren't sure how to market this, because you think about the movie's budget, it only had $14 million in it, and it ended up only grossing about $11.4 million. The movie did so poorly at the box office, it was pulled after 2 weeks. I didn't even get the chance to see it in the theater. So, yeah, I'm wondering to myself, what is it exactly this movie... So, yeah, but at the same time, the second viewing, I saw more of what the movie was... Well, I'd seen some potential in the movie, squandered enormously the first time I saw it. I saw more of the potential and gave it a bit more credit the second time. Reason being, well, performances pull out well in the film. The Victoria Justice, she's not a great highliner, but she makes it work. Jane Levy, she has her moments, even though her character's not that likable. Chelsea Handler, her character is going through an arc in the film too, and while it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, there's a scene where she's at a party run by one of her boyfriend's friends who's about 26 too, and he still lives with his parents, acts like a total man-child. I mean, granted, I'm not going to explain why, but the reason for... I'm a little offended by that for certain reasons, because they have this... Nickelodeon presents this outlook that someone like that would have to act this way. And then she ends up talking with the guy's parents and gaining a perspective on her life with everything that's going on. And it is kind of effective. It's not... I've seen ways this has been done better before, though, I will certainly say that. The movie also has a heavy influence into 80s teen comedies, it seems, or at the least Nickelodeon comedies such as Snow Day. I remember thinking a lot of Snow Day watching this movie the first time. Well, not maybe a lot, but a fair amount. And it is almost like that. It's like Snow Day, except it's not snowing and it's Halloween. Then there's the matter of Albert himself. Yeah, the majority of the film, like I said, he's not talking because he's mute. And it's really hard to connect to him for that reason, because they have no characters, they barely have any characterization for him. While it's not a great film by any stretch of the imagination, extremely loud and incredibly close, at least had Max von Sydow be so expressive, despite never saying an actual word in the film, unless he did actually speak in one scene and we didn't hear it because it was distorted, that you completely understood his character. And even then, they gave him a good enough backstory to help pull it together. Here, yeah, I've lost relatives before too, and I can imagine that a kid his age would struggle to get over the passing of his father the way that he does. But at the same time, again, you're giving me barely anything to grasp onto. I think Thomas Mann is fine in his role. I think Johnny Knoxville is overplaying it, but at the same time, you get Johnny Knoxville to overplay something. So, yeah, I think that... And the movie well, a lot of the film is kind of just focusing more on inane humor than anything else. It does ultimately have a purpose and a thought in its head by the time it's over that I understood what it was trying to accomplish before it was over, but at the same time I felt like this was still a mess of a movie despite the good intentions. But again, I can't judge it too harshly for that, because it is what it is. It's a harmless, dumb teen comedy, which, yeah, at one point kind of plays off a lesbian joke as a joke. There was another Nickelodeon movie, I can't remember right at this moment in time, that had a moment where you saw two gay characters, but at the same time, it didn't just hand wave it as a joke. So, yeah, well, that part's a little offensive. At the same time, I understood the fact that they weren't trying to draw too much attention to it. They don't focus on it intensely. They don't make it a running gag. And, yeah, again, I think that ultimately what you're getting out of this film is that you're going to... If you have to pick between Trick or Treat, it's going to be a bit of a trick, but not too mean a trick by the end of it. See for yourself at some point or another. I think it's... I can't say it's worth a rental, but maybe worth the time at some point or another.